This story is about the Middle East and the United States of America. The Middle East is a large area in Asia. For a long time, big empires ruled this land. The borders, the lines between countries, changed many times. Later, countries from Europe became very powerful. These European countries, like France and Britain, drew new borders in the Middle East. They did not think about the people living there, their languages, or their groups. They just made lines on maps to show where their power was. Later, the European countries left, but the borders they drew stayed. Our story starts around the year 1930. At this time, the world had a big war called the First World War. After this war, oil became very, very important. New machines, like tanks and airplanes used in the war, needed oil to work. Countries learned that to be strong and powerful, they needed a lot of oil. Far away from the Middle East, in North America, was a growing country. This country was the United States of America. The current president of the U.S. is Donald Trump, and it is real. America was becoming a superpower. It had grown across its own land and looked west over the ocean. But after the war, America started to look east, to the Middle East. Why did America look east? It needed oil for its machines and for its future power. It also wanted to grow its power in the world. At first, America was only a little bit involved in the Middle East. But this small start became something very large. This story tells how America came to have a big presence in this important part of the world, starting from almost nothing. 2. Looking for oil. In the 1930s, the United States had very little connection to the Middle East region. Most Americans and their businesses were not present there. But the world was changing. After a major global war, oil became extremely important for industry and transport. This made American companies look across the world for new oil sources. One American oil company, located in California, decided to try something very bold and risky. They chose to search for oil in a huge desert far from America. This desert was located in the country of Saudi Arabia, a place very different from the United States. The desert itself was vast, stretching over 1,000,000 square kilometers, an area roughly the size of 1/3 of America. It was a harsh land of sand and heat. The decision to search here was a big gamble for the company. They had no clear evidence that oil was below the ground. They invested a large amount of money from thousands of people who owned shares in the company. If the search failed, all this investment could be lost forever. Saudi Arabia was a kingdom with deep religious customs. It was home to the most sacred places of Islam. The royal family ruled the country and was generally wary of people from other countries, especially Westerners who did not share their faith. Letting an American company search for oil was not a simple decision for the king. However, the king did give the California Company permission to explore a large part of the desert. The search began, and it was not easy work. For several years, the company tried to find oil in different spots. It was a time of hard effort and waiting. Finally, after years of searching, success came. On March 3, 1938, the company's workers found oil in a small area near the sea in the desert. It was a big discovery, like finding a hidden treasure. This successful search for oil marked the beginning of America's direct physical presence and interest in Saudi Arabia and the wider Middle East region. 3. Americans arrive. After oil was found in 1938, many Americans started to come to Saudi Arabia. These were oil workers, the managers, and their families. They moved there in the 1930s and through the 1940s. This was the first time many Americans lived in the region. They built small towns next to where the oil work happened. These towns were made to feel like small parts of America. They had comfortable houses with air conditioning because of the hot weather. There were also places like hospitals for when people were sick, and even places to watch movies outside. Life in these American towns was very different from traditional Saudi life. Americans had different customs. Some things Americans did were against the rules in Saudi Arabia at that time. For example, American women drove cars and people drank alcohol. Saudi laws did not allow these things. Many local Saudi people saw these actions as wrong. They were not happy that the Saudi government let the Americans live and act like this in their country. The American way of life was a big change. The oil kept coming out of the ground, and this made Saudi Arabia and the royal family very rich. The U.S. government wanted to make sure the oil was safe. They talked to the King of Saudi Arabia. The U.S. asked if they could build a military base close to the oil fields. The U.S. said this base would help protect the king and the oil from any danger. The Saudi king thought carefully. He knew some of his people were unhappy about the Americans being there. But the money from the oil was very important to his kingdom and his family. So the king agreed to let the U.S. build a base on Saudi land. But he had one important rule for the Americans. The rule was that the American flag could not be put up on a flagpole anywhere on the base. The American flag must not touch Saudi soil in that way. Instead, the Americans could put a small metal sign with their flag picture on the side of a building. The U.S. government said okay to this rule. So the U.S. built its first military landing area next to the oil field. 4. A builder's son. As the American Oil Company expanded its work in the Saudi desert, a great deal of building was needed. The Americans who came to work there needed places to live, eat, and relax. They wanted towns that felt like home, with houses, hospitals, and even places for entertainment. Also, when the Saudi king allowed the U.S. government to build a military base, even more construction work was needed. This huge amount of building created a big opportunity for local companies. A Saudi construction company became central to this building work. This company was started and run by a man named Mohammed. He was a skilled builder and businessman. The Americans found his company reliable and capable. So they hired his company to build many of the important parts of their new oil city and the military base nearby. Mohammed's company received many large contracts from the American oil operations and the military. This meant the company grew very quickly. More workers were hired, and the company took on bigger and bigger projects. They built the houses, the offices, the community buildings, and parts of the infrastructure needed for the oil work and the base. Because of all this building, Mohammed's company became one of the most important and successful companies in Saudi Arabia. The success of the construction company brought a lot of wealth to Mohammed and his family. They earned a great deal of money from the building projects for the Americans. Mohammed became a very rich man. His family became one of the wealthy families in the kingdom. This wealth was a direct result of the oil discovered in the desert and the American presence that came with it, needing so much to be built. Mohammed had a very large family, which was not unusual for some wealthy men in Saudi Arabia at that time. He had many wives and, over the years, many children. The source text mentions a large number, around 54 children in total. Having a large family meant the wealth was shared among many sons and daughters. Among these many children, one son would later become very famous and very angry about the American presence. This son's name was Osama. Osama grew up in a family that was deeply connected to the American presence in Saudi Arabia. His father's great wealth came from building for the Americans. He saw how the Saudi royal family worked closely with the U.S. for the oil, and how this brought money and change, including to his own family. This early experience, living with the wealth gained from the American relationship while also growing up in a very religious kingdom, would shape Osama's future views and actions. 5. New problems in the East. The United States first came to the Middle East mostly for oil. This started in the 1930s in Saudi Arabia. But in the years after, especially in the 1950s and 1960s, America started to get involved for other important reasons too. The world had changed after the big wars. America was a very powerful country. There was another big country, the Soviet Union. The United States and the Soviet Union were great rivals in the world, in a Cold War. The Soviet Union started trying to make friends in the Middle East. They offered help and a different way to live, called communism. They wanted more power in the region. The United States did not want the Soviet Union to become strong here. The Middle East was important because of oil and its location. So America started to act to stop Soviet influence. The U.S. wanted to keep the region friendly for its interests and oil needs. One example was in Iran. In the 1950s, Iran had a leader chosen by the people. But the U.S. and Great Britain did not like him. They thought he might be too friendly with the Soviet Union. They worried he might let the Soviets control Iran's oil. So, America worked with Great Britain to secretly remove the leader in Iran in 1953. They helped a new leader, the Shah, become head of the country. The Shah was a king and a dictator, but friendly to the U.S. This action angered many people in Iran. Another important thing happened with Israel. Israel was a new country created in 1948. Many Arab countries nearby did not like Israel. They often fought wars against it. The United States saw Israel as a friend and partner. America started to give Israel a lot of money and modern weapons, like fighter planes. This helped Israel fight against its Arab neighbors. This support became very strong. Supporting Israel made many Arab countries very angry. These were often the same countries with a lot of oil. They saw America helping their enemy. This made the relationship between America and these oil-rich Arab countries difficult and caused tension. Some used oil to show their anger. The U.S. was now involved not just for oil, which was still important, but also because of its fight with the Soviet Union for power, and its strong support for Israel. These were new reasons for America's growing presence in the Middle East. This created many new problems and made the situation more complex for the United States. America's presence grew larger and touched more countries for these different reasons. 6. Osama gets angry. Osama bin Laden was the son of Muhammad, the famous builder. Mohammed bin Laden's company built many of the new roads, buildings, and places for the American oil workers and soldiers in Saudi Arabia. Because of this, the bin Laden family became one of the richest and most powerful families in the kingdom. Osama grew up seeing this close relationship between his family's business and the Americans. He also saw the close connection between the Saudi royal family and the United States government. But as he grew older, especially in the 1970s, he started to feel deeply troubled by what he saw. He watched the news and learned about the actions of the United States in other countries in the Middle East. He saw how the U.S. helped to remove the chosen leader in Iran and supported the new leader there. He saw the strong support the U.S. gave to Israel, providing money and weapons. These actions angered many people in the Arab world. More importantly for Osama, he saw the growing American presence in his own country, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the home of Islam's two holiest cities, Mecca and Medina. These places are very important to Muslims all over the world. Osama felt that America, a country with different beliefs and customs, should not have such a large presence and influence in this sacred land. He saw American soldiers and workers living and working near the holy sites. He felt that the Saudi royal family was allowing a foreign, non-Muslim power to become too strong in the kingdom. He felt they were not protecting the land or Islam well enough. He also felt uncomfortable that his own family's great wealth came from working with the Americans. He saw this closeness as a problem, not a good thing. Osama came to believe that the United States was a dangerous influence. He also saw the Soviet Union as another foreign power trying to control the region. He decided he could not simply watch. He felt a strong religious duty to act. He decided he must fight against these foreign superpowers who were present in the Middle East. He made a choice to leave his wealthy life in Saudi Arabia. He heard about the fight happening in Afghanistan, where the Soviet Union had invaded. Osama decided to travel to Afghanistan to join the fighters there. He wanted to help push back against the Soviet army. This was the first step in his mission to fight against all foreign superpowers in the region, including the United States. 7. Fighting and a new group. Osama bin Laden went to the country of Afghanistan. The Soviet Union had soldiers there. Osama wanted to fight against these foreign soldiers. He believed that big foreign countries should not be in the Middle East. His family was very rich, so he had a lot of money. He used this money to help the fighters in Afghanistan. He also knew how to build things because of his father's business. His knowledge of building helped the fighters make places to live and hide. America also helped these fighters. The United States did not like the Soviet Union, so America secretly sent weapons and money to the people fighting the Soviets in Afghanistan. This help was not open, it was a secret plan. The fighters, with help from people like Osama and money and weapons from America, fought for many years. It was a long and hard fight. After about 10 years of fighting, the Soviet Union soldiers left Afghanistan. Osama and the fighters had won. Osama was now known as a strong fighter. He was even more sure that he needed to fight against foreign powers in the Middle East. He went back to Saudi Arabia. There, he started his own group. He called this group Al-Qaeda. The main goal of Al-Qaeda was to protect the religion of Islam. Osama thought the best way to do this was to attack the big foreign countries like the United States and others that were present in the Middle East. He saw these countries as a danger to the Holy Lands. The government in Saudi Arabia did not like Osama's new group. They were also not happy with his ideas about fighting against America. Saudi Arabia had a good relationship with the United States because of the oil business and other things. The Saudi government did not want problems with America. They told Osama to stop talking about fighting America. They even took away his passport so he could not travel easily. But Osama did not stop his plans or his beliefs. 8. America stays on. Saddam Hussein, the leader of Iraq, sent his army to take control of the small country of Kuwait. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait's neighbor, felt very scared that Saddam would attack them next. The Saudi king needed help. Osama bin Laden offered his fighters, but the king said no. He asked the United States instead. Dick Cheney, a high-level American official, flew to Saudi Arabia. The Saudi king asked America to come with a lot of soldiers very fast. America agreed and quickly sent a very large and powerful military force. Many soldiers, ships, and planes from America and other countries came to the region. About 37 countries joined with the United States. This big group quickly fought against Iraq. Within a few weeks, they won the war and pushed Saddam's army out of Kuwait. The victory made the Saudi royal family very happy with America. But after the war ended, many American soldiers and military bases stayed in Saudi Arabia. They stayed to help protect the region and make sure the oil kept flowing. This made many Saudi people unhappy. They did not want foreign soldiers, especially American ones, on their land. Osama bin Laden was extremely angry about this decision. He felt the American presence was wrong and disrespectful in the holy land of Islam. He felt that America, not Saddam Hussein, was now the main enemy. Osama left Saudi Arabia because he could not accept the king's choice to rely on America. From other countries, he started planning serious attacks against the United States. The decision to keep American soldiers in Saudi Arabia after the war became a major reason for conflict and serious events in the years that followed. How do you think the decision to keep U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia after the Gulf War changed the course of history?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.